Hey tribe, welcome back. In today's video, we're going to be going over RayTube practice question number 44 with a focus on LGBTQIA plus related questions. So stay tuned. Okay, so let's dive into it. A social worker is meeting with a parent and their teenager who recently came out as gay. The parent believes their teenager is going through a phase and wants the social worker to help them re-identify as straight. How should the social worker respond next? A. Ask the teenager if they engaged in sexual activity since coming out. B. Educate the parent about the benefit of supporting their teenager. C. Inform the parent and the teenager that this is a normal phase most teenagers experience throughout their development. And D. Provide education to the parent about sexual orientation. So, you know how we do. Take a second to reread through the question, reread through the answer choices, pause the video, select your best answer choice, unpause the video, and then we'll jump into the explanation. Okay. If you picked D, you are correct. Why? So let's look at A. Ask the teenager if they engaged in sexual activity since coming out. This is incorrect. This option doesn't address the points mentioned within the question of the reason why they are meeting with the social worker. Because remember, the question says, how should the social worker respond next when the parent and the teenager met with the social worker and the parent is saying, hey, this is a phase that my teenager's going through. Can you help them re-identify as straight? Right? Saying A, ask the teenager if they engage in sexual activity since coming out. That doesn't really address anything necessarily, right? And ultimately, we want to know, is there a better option that we can select? B, educate the parent about the benefit of supporting their teenager. This is incorrect. Why? While support is important, this option doesn't address the main points mentioned within the question of the reason why they are meeting with the social worker. There is a better option to do next regarding the scenario. And especially for our those parents out there, when do you learn that supporting your child is beneficial? It's kind of like it's almost like built in. We know that already, like supporting people in general. And again, technically from the parents' perspective, they could be thinking, what are you talking about? I am supporting them. That's why we're meeting with the social worker, to help my teenager re-identify as straight. I am supporting them. What are you talking about? So this would be incorrect. C, inform the parent and the teenager that this is a normal phase most teenagers experience throughout their development. This is incorrect. A teenager coming out as gay is not a normal phase most teenagers experience throughout development. This option would be validating the parents' misinformation and invalidating the teenager's sexual orientation of kind of saying like, hey teenager, you're going through this and this is a normal phase, and you're not going to identify as gay in a matter of months or years or whatever the case may be. So this one is incorrect. And that's why D is the correct answer of provide education to the parent about sexual orientation. Providing education about sexual orientation will help manage expectations and set the stage for everything else throughout session. Because remember, if the parent is coming in with this misinformation about, hey, there's just a phase, can you get them straight again, type of thing? When do we educate them? And in short, we educate them sooner rather than later, because that will dictate and set the pace for everything else to be discussed during that session, during that meeting. And sexual orientation, a person's emotional, sexual, and or relational attraction to others. This can include attraction to people of the opposite sex slash gender, which would be heterosexual, the same sex slash gender, gay slash lesbian, or multiple sexes slash genders, which would be bisexual. And a memory trick for sexual orientation, who the person wants to get oriented with sexually. So think about orientation like school orientation, work orientation. You're getting familiar with that environment and everything that comes with it. Sexual orientation, who do you want to get familiar with sexually, right? And according to a guide for understanding, supporting, and affirming LGBTQI2 S children, youth, and families, and for those that don't know, L stands for lesbian, G stands for gay, B stands for bisexual, T stands for transgender, Q stands for questioning and sometimes queer, I for intersex and or 2S, which stands for two spirit. And if you, to my understanding, if you use the term LGBTQIA plus, the plus kind of encompasses everything else, and including things that may be added to it later. So, to my understanding, it's still appropriate to use the plus. And with this article, myth: people choose to be gay, bisexual, or transgender. Fact: people don't choose their sexual orientation or gender identity. According to research, sexual orientation and gender identity emerge early in life and do not depend on such factors as home life. People choose how they express themselves, but their underlying sexual orientation and gender identity are not self selected and are not lifestyle choices. Another myth is being gay or bisexual is a dysfunction that can be cured. And the fact in 2009, the American Psychological Association adopted a resolution stating that mental health professionals should avoid telling clients that they can change their sexual orientation through therapy or other treatments. Identifying as LGBTQI2S is not a mental health condition or mental illness. Identifying as LGBTQI2S cannot be cured by psychotherapy or other means. However, mental health challenges can be brought on by victimization, rejection, isolation, and internal struggles with self acceptance. So, again, that's why the answer to this question is D: provide education to the parent about sexual orientation. Now, moving on to the second question. A school social worker is meeting with a student and notice the pronouns on their ID is different from the pronouns listed on their file. What is the best way for the social worker to confirm the student's pronouns? A: call the student's parents to confirm the student's pronouns. B: ask the student what their preferred pronouns are. C: discuss the pronouns reflected in the student's file with the principal. Or D: ask the student about their sexual orientation. So, again, just like we did with the last question, we read through the question, we read through the answer choices, pause, select your best answer, unpause, and then we'll jump into the explanation. Okay. If you picked B, you are correct. Why? So, A, call the student's parents to confirm the student's pronouns. This is incorrect. This option may not answer the social worker's uncertainty of the student's pronouns. Also, the student may not want their parents to know. So, this option leaves room for not addressing the situation at hand. And again, we just want to know if there's a better option. Because some may say, like, oh, wouldn't their parents happen to know? And da da da. Just want to know if there's a better option. And there is, which is B: ask the student what their preferred pronouns are. Are the pronouns listed on the student's chart accurate? I don't know. Are the pronouns listed on the student's ID accurate? I don't know. However, asking them will confirm what their pronouns are. Because again, we don't know if it's on the ID, if that was incorrect and they switched it, or on their chart. We don't know. But just asking them, we're going right to the source. And according to that same article, use appropriate and inclusive language, respect and acknowledge the identity of young people who are LGBTQI2S by using acceptable and inclusive language in documents and discussions. For example, ask, "Are you seeing anyone?" rather than, "Do you have a boyfriend/slash girlfriend?" Ask, "What name do you prefer to be called?" And "What is your preferred gender pronoun?" Use language that they use to describe their sexual and gender identity. Also, understand and use terms that are acceptable and avoid terms that are not. So that's why the correct answer is B: ask the student what their preferred pronouns are. C: discuss the pronouns reflected in the student's file with the principal. Again, just like with the parents, this is incorrect. The principal may not know this information. The student is the source of information regarding their pronouns. And then D: ask the student about their sexual orientation. Again, this one is incorrect. Asking this question will not confirm their pronouns because how they identify and sexual orientation doesn't necessarily correlate. And with gender identity, remember our internal sense of being male, female, or something else. Because gender identity is internal, it is not necessarily visible to others. And a memory trick, read it backwards. Gender identity is how someone identifies their gender, which includes their pronouns. So he, him, his, she, her, hers, or they, them, theirs, to name some. Now, let's go down to practice question number 3. A social worker was recently hired at a school and wants the students to know this is a safe space for those a part of the LGBTQIA plus community to speak openly about their challenges. What is the best way for the social worker to accomplish this? A. Display a rainbow flag for students, a part of the LGBTQIA plus community to see. B, ask students who are part of the LGBTQIA plus community to spread the word around school. Or C, make an announcement that LGBTQIA plus challenges will be prioritized over other issues. Again, take a second, reread through everything, pause the video, select your best answer, unpause it, and then we'll jump into that explanation. Okay. For this one, if you picked A, you're correct. Why? So again, display a rainbow flag for students, a part of the LGBTQIA plus community to see. This is correct. Going off that same article, display rainbow flags and other messages and images, such as the Gleason safe space sign that signify a place of safety, acceptance, and support. Young people are likely to recognize these symbols and use them to identify spaces where they can be themselves without fear of harm. Importantly, be sure these spaces are indeed safe. And it makes sense because once someone sees that symbol, they already kind of know what's up, right? Because if that person or those people within that building, if they didn't within that space, if they didn't rock with people within the LGBTQIA plus community, why would the flag, why would the symbol be there? So it's a way just to kind of symbolize, like, hey, this is a safe space to discuss your challenges, your issues. B, ask the student ask the students who are part of the LGBTQIA plus community to spread the word around school. This is incorrect. This option puts the responsibility on the students instead of spreading the word ourselves. And I know some of us may be thinking like, wait a second, Ray, isn't like word of mouth like the best and everything like that because they're getting the experience and then they're telling other people about their experience and everything? Yes, but again, we just don't want to put the responsibility on them of like, hey, y'all, go tell those people that we're good over here. Go do that for us. No, I mean, I imagine it's naturally going to happen, but we don't want to put the responsibility on them. It's more so we want to signal that on our end by displaying a rainbow flag for students a part of the LGBTQIA plus community and just other things for them to see and understand this is a safe space. And C, make an announcement that the LGBTQIA plus challenges will be prioritized over other issues. This is incorrect. This could alienate other students who also need support. A school social worker should provide equal support for all students. Now, jumping into the next question, question number 4. A social worker is meeting with a client and discussing who they plan to disclose their sexual orientation to. The client believes their friends will be supportive, but unsure how some family members will respond. What best describes the actions the client plans to take? A, the process of accepting their sexual orientation. B, the process of questioning. Or C, the process of coming out. We know the routine. Uh, Pause everything, reread through everything, select the best answer, unpause it, and we'll dive into it. Okay, for this one, if you picked C, you are correct. Why? So A, the process of accepting their sexual orientation, this is incorrect. So again, the question states who they plan to disclose their sexual orientation to. The client already accepted their sexual orientation. That's not where we're at in this question, in this situation. They're deciding like, hey, who do I want to disclose this information to? Not trying to figure it out for themselves. So the process of accepting their sexual orientation, this is incorrect. In the process of questioning, it kind of goes along that same realm, because questioning is a term used to describe individuals who are unsure about their sexual orientation or gender identity. This person in the question is sure about their sexual orientation. They're just deciding who they want to disclose it to. The client doesn't mention their gender identity and isn't questioning their sexual orientation. The client is in the process of deciding who they want to disclose or come out to. And that's why C is the correct answer, the process of coming out. The question states discussing who they plan to disclose their sexual orientation to. Coming out refers to the process through which people identify, acknowledge, and decide to share information about their sexual orientation and or gender identity with others. So C is the correct answer for this one. And moving to the fifth and final question. A social worker is meeting with a client who reports being assigned female at birth and also identifies as a woman. What term does the client most likely identify as? A, cisgender, B, intersex, C, lesbian, or D, transgender? Pause everything, reread through, select your best answer, and then we'll dive into it. Okay. For this one, if you picked A, you're correct. Why? So cisgender is a word that describes gender, not sexual orientation. Cisgender refers to individuals whose gender identity matches the sex they were assigned at birth, male or female. And just a way to help us really understand this, does the person agree with the equipment they were born with? If they do, they may identify as cisgender. Example, a person who was born with male equipment and also identifies as a man may identify as cisgender. Intersex is incorrect. Why? Intersex is when a person is born with features that are not completely male or female. It's a natural variation of human biology. Example, a person might be born appearing to be female on the outside, but having mostly male typical anatomy on the inside. In memory, their sex is intertwined, like intersex, like they're reading it backwards, breaking it up a bit. Their sex is intertwined. So just kind of a way to help remember it. Lesbian is incorrect. Refers to a woman who is emotionally, romantically, and or physically attracted to other women. And D is also incorrect. Transgender, in contrast to cisgender, transgender describes people whose gender identity slash expression is different from that typically associated with their assigned sex at birth. A transgender person transitions to express gender identity through various changes. These changes may include wearing clothes and adopting a physical appearance that aligns with their internal sense of gender. Because remember, gender identity is when that person how they view themselves as, for example, male or female. And if they don't agree with the equipment they were born with, and let's say, for example, they're male and they identify as female, they transition to female to match how they truly identify on the inside. Okay, Tribe, that's it for today's video. That was RayTube practice question number 44, and we broke down 5 practice questions. So, you know how I say, doing at least 2 practice questions a day and at least 1 practice exam a month helps keep the exam anxiety at bay. Don't forget to subscribe and tell a social work friend, because we don't want to be licensed by ourselves. Also, I'm going to put the link to the other LGBTQIA+ video I created, and also I'm going to put the link to that article. It's actually in the Facebook group in the file section. I'm gonna put that in the description as well, so definitely check that out. All right, Tribe, I'll see you next video.